What's up, guys? This is Jay from COI. So, today, the Trump administration has released their 2020 budget. The most notable things about it are that during the State of the Union address, Donald Trump was up there and he said, I promise that I will not remove a single family off of Medicare and Medicaid. He then, when rolling out this plan, he talked about some of the things that they increased spending, like the military, like the Trump tax cuts, things like that. The real important things for us, because it's good that the rich people can still keep their tax cut. And said, but there's no cuts to Medicare and Medicaid. Believe me, no cuts. Um, and then you read the bill, don't even get that far into it, and you see, yeah, the biggest cuts is to the EPA, to our environment. We don't need that. To education, to labor, and yeah, to Medicare and Medicaid. Somewhere in the range of about 20 some percent. So fantastic. And I mean, he really must think that we are just idiots. And that we're such sycophants that we don't understand that when he says something and then the opposite is portrayed to us in paper, black and white, that we're just going to go, oh, well, he said no, so I believe him. Yeah, no, we can read. You can see the way his administration has even broke down pie charts of how the spending is going to go, and you can see direct correlation between where Medicare and Medicaid, specifically Medicaid, was and where it's going to be after the cut. Now, the other big notable thing about the 2020 budget, aside from Trump's obviously lying to your face, was he kept going on about how we have to we have to keep investing more into the military. We just have to do it. Other countries are doing it, and so we have to. We're at a hostage situation with other countries. But when you compare what we spend and what other countries spend, the next country closest, we spend six. I think it's in 700. I think 750 billion. Something like that. Yeah. And then the next country is China, like 250 billion. And because yeah, I know last year Trump got to 7 billion and he was all proud of himself. I might be wrong with the 750. I know he gave an increase, but let's just say 700 billion to be fair to him. Um, $700 billion to the military. The next closest country is China at $250 billion, and then after that, I mean, there's a huge fall off. Not that not that 250 from 700 isn't a huge fall off itself. But the question would be, okay, let's say we just take him at his word. And look, he's not the only one who does it. They all do it. They all talk about we have to keep up. Military, as far as military goes, we have to keep up. There's threats everywhere, blah, blah, blah. Let's say we just take them at their word and say, yeah, okay, we do, because this is what's happening. We need to fire who's ever in charge of budget. I mean, seriously, if we are spending that much money and that much more money than other countries, let's say more money than, I don't know, Pakistan or Afghanistan, and yet they kick our ass handedly. I mean, I would guess so. I mean, we're still in Afghanistan. Iraq is beating the shit out of us. Again, only because we haven't won and it's been, 20 years basically. Yeah, the Iraqi war can legally drive and buy, well, used to be able to buy packs of cigarettes. So who's doing the budgeting? To me, it sounds like that person should lose their job. The gross amount of money spent to our military, and not even to our soldiers, our troops, they need more. Honestly, they're not getting enough. Their base pay is garbage. The VA is getting better, but it needs to get a lot better. Um, a lot of their gear, even. I know some soldiers out there, and they've told me there's situations with like getting enough socks, getting a lot of things on, not a lot of things, but certain things on base at certain times. And we're spending $700 billion. Where's it going? And look, we all know this. I talked about War is a Racket, the book that everyone should read. We know where that money's going, and we know none of it's going to our troops, and we know we don't need to spend it. But the other big concerning thing regarding the military spending was that Trump kept talking about funding more nuclear. And to be honest, the naive little sweet guy I am, I thought, oh, he wants to get into nuclear power. Yeah, no, he was talking about nuclear bombs, essentially. That's concerning. I don't really like to hear any president talk about spending more. Um, he said because Russia is doing it because Obama allowed Russia to get nukes or whatever. I don't think that's true. Um, I also don't think Russia is that active in nuclear weaponry at the moment. But whatever. That's the budget, and yeah, it's just proof that we already knew that Trump was gonna lie. I mean, look, to build a strong country, we don't need the environment. Fuck it, we don't need water. Fuck water. Hey, we can drink Mountain Dew. Education, books. Who's that for? We don't need to read or to be educated. Trump will tell us what we need to know. And I mean, look, at the end of the day, we'll be fine, right? That's the way to build a country. And in other news, we found out something really interesting that AG Barr has been receiving documentation from Rudy Giuliani on, you guessed it, Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. The day after Trump was acquitted, they decided to keep going into this Biden situation in the Ukraine. Now, on its base, I don't care. I'm actually fine with that. If the Bidens are guilty of something, have at it. They should have to answer for it. The problem is the look that this really gives. Number one, the fact that Rudy Giuliani isn't somebody any of us voted for. He shouldn't be where he's at. He shouldn't have the power to grant visas or to override visas that have been rejected. That just shouldn't be his power. But he has that power. Even more so, in the name of our country, he's bumblefucking around Ukraine, digging up dirt on Hunter Biden. Now, there's not much we can do in this situation. We're kind of at the mercy of William Barr. I personally would love to know that who's ever looking at this is looking at it through a non-biased lens. Because, let's be honest, Biden probably is corrupt. And I want to know that for sure. But even more so, who the fuck can trust Rudy Giuliani to this kind of, let's just say, judicial work? Yes, he's a lawyer. He's not a great lawyer. He's done a lot of things in his life that none of them I would say he was really spectacular at. And I would also argue that Rudy Giuliani is losing his freaking mind. Some of my best Republican friends have even said Rudy Giuliani's crazy. Trump needs to distance himself from him. And I think that's a fair point. But now, donning the American flag, he's running around getting information on Trump's political combatants, if you will. Again, I feel like this is more political than it is anything else because we all also know that if anyone is dirty, it's probably the Clintons. And if you can find information on them, why isn't he doing that? But that does take into the other concerning part about this story, and that is it kind of resembles a banana republic. It resembles a president who said, "You dare oppose me? I'm going to put you in a cage." Oh, wait, no, that's just for the Mexicans. No, seriously, though. I know that it's civility, and civility has gotten to us a place of candorous bullshit that we have to hear all the time. But in this sort of situation, you would expect the Trump administration to stop investigating Biden. They kind of got a slap on the wrist for doing stuff that they shouldn't do. And they're just continuing to do that. Again, if there's real information, I would really be curious to hear it. But I don't really think there is anything much more than what we've already seen. And I don't know how much of a credible source Rudy Giuliani is. And with tomorrow being New Hampshire, I probably won't get time to talk about this story tomorrow, so I thought I would talk about it today. Um, it's a really sad situation where a 3-year-old little girl was shot in the neck with a shotgun, and she passed away. The situation involved a man from Pennsylvania. He was 51 years old, and he said that he felt like there was people coming after him. And so he took a pistol grip shotgun and put it under his bed. He then fell asleep and was he fell asleep and was, oh, I don't know, frightened by a noise, something, but he squeezed the trigger, pulled it, and he said he woke up and saw blood and another child running away. And we know about the situation is that there was um, 2 children in his custody. The 3-year-old who was unfortunately killed, and another child that we don't know too much about. Um, but this leads to a lot of questions. And the first one being, who was he? He was 51 years old and she was 3 years old. Was he the father? Was he the grandfather? We don't really know. But either way, what kind of danger would you have to be in to feel like you have to arm yourself and expose 2 children to that same danger? Like, if it's such a bad situation that you're gonna need a shotgun in your bed, then maybe you take the kids somewhere. And I understand you can't call the cops because in this situation, he was an ex-felon, wasn't even supposed to own the gun. He is arrested and it's going to be a whole thing. But the one thing I noted when I was looking this story up and I'd read about it was I had a hard time finding this one specific story. If you really want to find something disturbing, look up accidental 3-year-old shot. You're going to find a lot. And not just, in the last year, not just on Google. No, like this year, in 2020 already. We are 40 days into the year. And there was like one every other day, basically. Children being shot on accident is a gigantic problem here in this country. And no one really wants to talk about it. And look, I'm on the gun owner side. I think we should own guns. I think that we need to be careful with them. I think that there has to be a idea that once you purchase a gun, you're not a little boy anymore. You can't run around and act like you're Rambo or assume that you're going to be in the next Call of Duty game. No, you're probably old, fat, and you're not in the ranks to be in the military. And if you are, go to the military. Here, in your home, no, it's not tactical fighting time. You have the gun for emergency situations. You have the gun for, yes, I guess self-defense. But all of these stories had one common line, and that is, I didn't. It's not going to happen to me. I didn't think this was going to happen to me. Do you know who it's not going to happen to? The person who doesn't sleep with a gun in their bed. The person who doesn't keep a gun at the handy, just in case someone comes in. By the way, who are you that you have these enemies? Maybe just stop being a douchebag, and you won't have these enemies. Look, again, I have a gun. I have it stored in a safe. It's an easy fingerprint. It drops out into the palm of my hand kind of safe. If guns are so important, by the way, that safe was $100. Okay, it looks like a bookshelf, hangs on the side in my bedroom. Really hard to open it up unless you're me. If the gun is so important to you, then you should own a safe and a gun cabinet that is also expensive and hard to get into. It's the entire culture, though, that so many of these people run around and they want to be Rambo. They fantasize. They probably, I don't know, have small dicks, so they have to take Facebook pictures with skull rings on and shirts that say "Don't tread on me" and their semi-automatic rifle. That has to change. That really has to change. This is going to keep happening. This is going to happen over and over again till you come to the realization that to own a gun, you need to be an adult. Not just in age, but in your brain. Mentally, you have to say, look, this is a giant responsibility. Maybe I shouldn't have fantasies of being something I'm not. Because what I am is an adult who's responsible for other adults and children in this house. Or in public. And this little toy that I bought isn't a fucking toy. It's a tool. And it should be treated as a very, very dangerous tool. It should be respected. I don't see a lot of people running around with chainsaws strapped to their back. Or a chainsaw that they have a compartment for in their bed so they can slide it out. Chainsaw would be good for defending yourself, though. But it seems crazy because it's a dangerous tool. A gun is far worse. Far, far more dangerous. Again, I'm not against owning a gun. I think most people should, and most people should train in a gun, with a gun. I mean, we can go over the multiple scenarios that at which you're going to wish you had a gun. Very few, though, by the way, are going to be someone breaking into your house. Just to be real with you, that's going to happen a very, very slim percentage of the time. Most notably, my biggest one is an EMP. We are incredibly vulnerable to an EMP. If that happens, we have to get to a different country. All of us do. And it's going to be a fucking fight to get to either Mexico or Canada. And who knows if the power grid affects them as well. It could. But the point is yes, it's a right. It's a privilege. It's something that should be respected. And for all of the people who own a gun and take pride in gun ownership, start taking pride in being a safe gun owner. There's two types of gun owners. One who believes that they should be treated, respected, and you should be fearful of an accidental fire. And the second one is one who's going to have an accidental fire. That's the way it is. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. I'm curious what you think. Sorry for the weird computer flub up thing. But anyway, I'm curious what your thoughts are on all of these stories. And I'm excited for the New Hampshire vote tomorrow. That'll be interesting as well. We'll see how well they fuck over Bernie or Yang. You know they're going to fuck Yang over. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Have a great night.